Good morning. It's Tuesday morning. We did skip Monday, so don't go looking for that tape. It doesn't exist. But we're at Matthew 11, verses 1 through 6, which says, When Jesus had finished instructing his 12 disciples, he went on from there to teach and preach in their cities. Now when John heard in prison about the deeds of the Christ, he sent word by his disciples and said to him, Are you the one who is to come, or shall we look for another? And Jesus answered them, Go and tell John what you hear and see. The blind receive their sight, and the lame walk. Lepers are cleansed, and the deaf hear. The dead are raised up, and the poor have good news preached to them. And blessed is the one who is not offended by me. Which is as close as it comes in any of the Gospels to Jesus, sort of giving a commercial for himself and an advertisement or a list of his credentials. Are you the one who is to come? Asked John's disciples, which tells us immediately that John the Baptist had his own set of disciples, and the question was, is Jesus really the Messiah? Because even John the Baptist's expectations were not quite being met. Is this guy the one? He's not acting like we expected the Messiah to act. He hasn't taken on the Romans, so what's his deal? Well, his deal is that he's curing people of their diseases and he's preaching good news to the poor. And so if you're not offended by me, good for you. Go tell John that, he says to these disciples. And they go and they tell him. So there's this ongoing little debate between Jesus and John the Baptist over expectations. And of course, later on in the gospel, we'll learn more about the fate of John the Baptist. The poor receive good news. That is on the same list with the lame walk and the dead are raised up. So there's something good there that's happening that's very unexpected. Just like you wouldn't expect anybody to cleanse a leper or raise a dead person. And yet, here it is, and here it happens. And on the same level as that, the poor get good news. Now, think about being really poor in those days. You didn't have any hope. You made enough money today to buy food tonight to eat one more meal, and that was it. That was as good as it got. There was nobody to take care of you. There was no social safety net. There was no understanding that society would collectively take care of people who were poor. That's just the way it is. And if you don't like it and can't live with it, we're sorry, too bad. So the poor did not have any hope. And they didn't also have any way out of poverty. Even, if they sold themselves into slavery, perhaps they would get a guarantee of meals, but in exchange for what? So there's an issue. The grinding poverty that most people in human history have lived in, and that most people today live in, and that people back then lived in, was a terrible thing. And Jesus doesn't come to bring them all $100 million. He says they get good news. They get hope. They get the assurance that this isn't all there is. There's going to be something better, something more. And, hang on and have hope. And I think that message translates for us too. In our relatively rich situations, we look on and say, this isn't all there is, have hope. And so don't despair, have hope. God is good, and we'll see you tomorrow.